How about I unmute my mic? Should I do that? I think that's a great idea. Listen. Welcome into the Full Count Offering here on the Beltway Network. This is the premiere episode of the Full Count Offering. Bear with me. Please. I mean, I can't even. I have the earbuds in to see if the audio is working, and I can confirm that the audio is working now that I've turned the mic on. But anyway, listen. This is the premiere episode. We're working out all the kinks, really. I mean, that's pretty much what we're doing here. I'm going to try to provide some content today, but here on the premiere episode, we're just trying to work with the Full Count Offering. So, basically, the schedule for this show is going to be quite simple. I know right now we don't really have an audience, but I'm hopeful that at some point there will be an audience here. If there's not, well, that's going to be unfortunate. But I'm hopeful that at some point we can get an audience in here, and maybe, now that we're doing this, for the postseason here of the Major League Baseball postseason, maybe we can get in maybe we can get an audience here in the postseason. So right now the plan is, just to kind of recap what the plan is for this show right now. Of course, the regular season of Major League Baseball ended this past Sunday. So the regular season's over. But today, I guess, begins the postseason. So the playoffs begin today, with the wild card series, and that's going to be the purpose of this stream today. Throughout the postseason, I will be here every weekday, live on YouTube here on the Beltway Network with the Full Count Offering at 9 a.m. to preview the day that is ahead in the playoffs. So there will not be a live show on the weekend. So every Friday, we will recap the events of the Friday as well as the upcoming weekend. And then Monday through Friday, we will get back on track. Now, if there's an off day, which I'm sure that there are, I haven't exactly looked at the schedule, but I just know the setup pretty much of each round of the playoffs. There are 3 wild card games if needed, 5 division games if needed, 7 championship, 7 World Series, obviously. So there are going to be off days sprinkled in there. I don't think I'll be live on those off days, just because the whole purpose of this show is to preview the day of. And if there's not going to be anything going on that day, I really don't see a reason why we would be live. So, the plan for right now is to just go live every weekday whenever there are games on. Doesn't matter if there's 1 game, 2 games, 4 games in the case of today, doesn't matter. We will be live each day throughout the playoffs. Once the playoffs end, this show will go on hiatus until the regular season for Major League Baseball begins, because the whole purpose of this show is to preview the day and the upcoming games on the day, which is why it takes place early in the morning. It's to preview the day. So once there are no games on, there's nothing to preview, so there's really no reason for a show. So there will not be a show during the off season, because the whole purpose of this show is to preview the day's events. And this is strictly a Major League Baseball channel, so we're not going to be covering any other sports, any other leagues, whatever. This is strictly Major League Baseball. And so the show's beginning now. First day of the playoffs. We'll go to the end of the playoffs. It'll be on hiatus through the offseason, and then we'll come back on opening day in March. However, in the meantime, it also should be prefaced that my goal is to cover the majority of Major League Baseball here on this show, but also I plan on starting another a weekday live, quote-unquote, radio show at some point soon, and that's going to be called On the Scorecard, which is going to be pretty much just a daily recap, but it's also going to be specifically tailored towards the Baltimore Orioles, which is the team that I choose to cover, the team that I choose to root for. And considering the district, I'm also going to kind of fit in some Washington Nationals coverage as well here on this channel, hence the name, the Beltway Network. So that's just a little, that's just general information on what we expect to do here on the channel and the plan moving forward. On the scorecard, now I had posted a schedule over on the Beltway Network's Twitter account at Beltway_network. The link should be down in the description. Let me confirm that. Not the link, but the handle is in the description, as well as my own personal handle at Nate Chive. So originally, when I had posted the original schedule for the start dates for all of my programs, which there are going to be 3 total, here the full count offering, which I just specified, will be starting today, going through the end of the postseason. We'll be on hiatus throughout the offseason. We'll come back on opening day, and it will be a weekday event throughout the entire Major League Baseball regular season. And then, of course, the postseason next year, and so on and so forth. The second show is On the Scorecard, which originally I'd penciled in to start at the beginning of the regular season next year. However, considering the fact that I am mainly a Baltimore Orioles coverage page, this is going to be a very eventful offseason for the Baltimore Orioles. They will be hiring a new manager, potentially a new general manager. There was a press conference yesterday held by Tony Mansolino and Mike Elias, the interim manager and the current president of baseball operations for the Baltimore Orioles. And they basically said that they're going to be going all in this offseason. They have big plans. What will the coaching staff look like? Who will the new manager be? And Mike Elias made sure to mention that this new manager appointment is going to be ASAP, as soon as possible. So that makes me think that there's going to be a lot of important information coming out quite soon. And it won't be, necessarily coming out in November, December, whatever. It feels like that it's going to be imminent. I don't know that to be true. I don't have any inside sources or anything, but based on the terminology that Mike Elias used yesterday during the Orioles press conference, which I will be covering on the premiere episode of On the Scorecard, which will premiere this Friday at, what time will it will be at, let's see, On the Scorecard. I think I need to remember what the schedule was. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I believe, at 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Yes, I can confirm. 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. The premiere episode of On the Scorecard will be this Friday at 1 p.m. And the plan for On the Scorecard is to be airing every Monday, or not airing, but live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday throughout the offseason. Simply because I think there's going to be a lot going on in the world of. This isn't just going to be exclusive to the Baltimore Orioles, but that's going to be the most in-depth coverage that we're going to cover here. And it's going to be a big offseason for them, but it's also going to be a pretty big offseason in general. There are some big-name free agents out there that are going to be picked up. A lot of managers will be appointed this offseason. We already know of several teams that have parted ways with their current manager. So it's going to be a very eventful offseason in Major League Baseball, as they typically are. But it feels like this year in particular is going to be a little bit more eventful than usual. And, of course, On the Scorecard, we can also cover the ongoing postseason, the ongoing playoffs in Major League Baseball. So the plan is to have the premiere episode of On the Scorecard, which is going to be the longer show of the 2 live shows. The plan is to have that premiere this Friday right here on the Beltway Network on YouTube at 1 p.m. Eastern. The 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., the 3-hour time slot it's just a guideline. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be live for the full 3 hours. I could go over the 3 hours. It's just kind of a guideline. Just a rough sketch of what exactly I expect that show to be day in and day out. maybe during some lulls in the offseason, there probably won't be too much to talk about, so might be a little bit of a shorter show. Other days might be a little bit more compact, a little bit more busy, so might be a longer show. During the regular season, I anticipate that On the Scorecard will be a daily show just like this one. And there will be a different schedule for Monday, Wednesday, Fridays versus Tuesdays, Thursdays. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 to 4 p.m. is the rough guideline. Tuesday, Thursday, we expect to start at 11 a.m. and go to about 2 p.m. on average. So that schedule is over on the Beltway Network's Twitter account, but it might also be I think it is in the description. And simply try... Okay, we have a little bit of some internet issues, it appears. I'm not quite sure what happened there. There was a disconnection, but now we are reconnected. So hopeful that we are back on track here. Again, this is the first one. We're hoping to work out all the kinks here. We're trying to work through everything, and we're hopeful that everything will work out okay eventually. Like I said, this is the first episode, so bear with me. Bear with me through the first couple weeks, month or so, as we try to figure out exactly how this can work and the best ideal way to work through this. Again, like I said, there's not much of an audience at the moment, but we're hopeful that we can build one organically here. But that was just a little bit of a preview of what is to come here on this channel. 2 live shows during the regular season. And right now we're going to try to push both those live shows, but not full time, so to speak. So this show will be live at 9 a.m. on weekdays, on days where there are playoff games. Days where there are not playoff games, probably won't be a show. On the Scorecard is going to start this Friday and will be a new episode every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1 p.m. right here on the Beltway Network on YouTube. So that was just a little bit of an introduction to this channel and what is expected to come here in the future. Today we will be getting into some. I will try to provide some information on this stream, despite it being 15 minutes in nearly, and well, no actual baseball conversation yet. But I felt like I just needed to kind of get that introduction out there, express what it is that I expect to be doing here on this channel and what exactly I have in store, what the plan is for this channel, and I think it's important to get the schedule out there and to make sure that everybody's aware of the actual plan and what times there are. All times that I'm referencing are in Eastern time here on the East Coast of the United States. So if you're somewhere else in the world, adjust accordingly. Obviously, as a Baltimore Orioles fan, I'm based out of Maryland. So Eastern time is the time that I follow. So all times will be based there. You can adjust yourself accordingly. But with all that being said, that's the introduction to this show, this channel, and I'm hopeful that at some point we can begin to build a community here and we can start to really kind of dive deeper into the world of Major League Baseball. And I have been a primarily baseball account over on Twitter at Nate Chive, where I was doing live coverage of Oriole games over there. Again, not much of a community over there, but there's somewhat of a community over there, and I'm hopeful that maybe that community can come over here and join us and engage in these conversations, engage in this in simply the baseball talk. There are many baseball fans, and specifically there are many Orioles fans. So hopeful that we can kind of stretch ourselves out into that market and try to grab some people in from those markets. It doesn't even have to be Orioles. I mean, you can be a Yankees fan for all I care. We can have these conversations. I'm not going to sit here and call you an idiot because you're a Yankees fan. I'm I'm not that side of Twitter. I'm not that side of baseball Twitter where, I have a face to the name. I'm one of those. I'm not going to hide behind a Garrett Cole avatar and, insult you because you're an Orioles fan or make fun of you because you're a Mets fan and your team didn't make the playoffs. We're all civil here. We're here to talk baseball. The great sport that is baseball. So, you can be a fan of whatever team you want. We're going to cover a lot of information here. It's not just going to be Orioles talk. It's going to be Major League Baseball talk. So if there are any big happenings in the world of Major League Baseball, we're going to cover it here on the Beltway Network. But I will preface that there will be an emphasis on Orioles and Nationals news and talk. So that will be the main focus, but we will also dive into the other 28 teams in Major League Baseball and any big happening going on in the world of Major League Baseball. So I feel like that we're pretty wide stretched. We're not specific to a particular market. I feel like that we can be broad. And while the coverage of, say, Cubs or Reds or Brewers or, Guardians or Tigers or Royals, that won't be as in-depth, won't be as, this channel isn't tailored toward those specific teams, those specific markets. But we're going to cover them. If there's something newsworthy about them, we're going to cover them. So we're not going to be specifically talking about just the two teams along the Beltway. We're going to cover all of Major League Baseball. But I do want to preface once again that the main focus will be on Orioles talk, and there will be some Nationals talk as well, just considering the location and the market. So, when we come back, we will be diving into actual baseball talk. I'm going to preview the Wild Card Series Day 1 that begins tonight. We're going to look at the pitching matchups. We're going to look at these specific matchups and how they look on paper heading into today and tonight. So we're going to cover all that right here on the Full Count Offering here on the Beltway Network. And we will be... Okay. So we will be covering that in just a moment whenever we come back. I must say, the matchups for tonight are a lot more interesting than I originally thought. Now, I knew that the Crochet Freed matchup, for example, was definitely going to be a good one. And I knew that, that was going to be, or I knew that this Yankees Red Sox series was going to be really something special. Perhaps a series that could very well reignite the rivalry between the two teams. It's been a while since those two teams have met in the playoffs. Been a few years. So, I'm a little disappointed. It's just a 3-game set. It's just a wild card series. But take what we can get. Should be a really good series, and I think it's going to be. I'm kind of torn on who I think could come out of this thing. I mean, I think obviously I think Yankee fans in particular, and I think the Yankees themselves are a little trepidatious, maybe a little nervous about this series, and seeing that it's only a 3-game series. I think they would have much preferred the bye and just a straightaway bye to the divisional round, and you get a 5-game series there instead of if you lose tonight, you have 1 game left to play with. You have 1 game left. You have 1 game that you can risk, and the Red Sox pitching staff has been really good this year. The Red Sox likely going to be facing Brian Bayo, I believe, in Game 2. The Yankees will send out Carlos Rodon, and we'll preview that tomorrow. And then Game 3, I believe the Red Sox said it was either going to be the rookie, Connolly Early. I don't know how you pronounce his name. Is it Early? Is that all it is? I don't know. It's either going to be him or Kyle Harrison against Cam Schlittler for the Yankees. So I do hope that this goes to a Game 3, because I personally would be a little disappointed if the Red Sox or Yankees swept this series in 2, because that Game 3 matchup really intrigues me, and it's something that I'd really like to see. I'd like to see how Cam Schlittler can play, how he can pitch in a playoff environment with a lot of pressure on him, especially if it goes to a Game 3, it's win or go home. So I'd be very curious to know how Schlittler would react in an environment like that. I mean, as Oriole fans, we've seen a good amount of Schlittler. Of course, we saw him over the weekend. We've seen him twice this year, and he has pitched really well. So he's someone that I look at that I think could be a big part of the Yankees' future, and he's someone that I look at that, I think a playoff start for him, I mean, as young as he is and how early he is into his big league career, I think it'd be very telling. If he performs well, I think that's a very good sign for the Yankees for the future. If he performs poorly, I don't think that's necessarily a reflection on him and his ability. But I think it would cause the Yankees to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, what exactly went wrong here? How can we work on it for the future? And the same goes for the Red Sox, especially if they set up the rookie early up. So, we'll see. I personally would like to see a Schlittler early matchup, just the 2 rookies going at it, 2 rookies who have performed very well so far in their big league career. So I think that'd be a very interesting matchup, especially in a win-or-go-home situation. So I'm hopeful that this series between the Yankees and Red Sox can go to a 3-game set. Obviously remains to be seen. We'll see what happens tonight. We'll see what happens tomorrow, and we'll see what happens on Friday. So I don't believe there are any off days in between. I believe it's just the 3 games back to back to back. Let me confirm that real quick. Like I said, I haven't actually looked at the schedule and how exactly these things are lining up here. Okay, so I don't know. I keep thinking today's Wednesday, but it's not. Today's Tuesday. So the wild card series is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So 3 straight days. And then there's an off day on Friday. So we probably will not be live here on the Full Count Offering on Friday since there are no games. And then Saturday begins the division series. So, it should be interesting. But really excited to see what we're going to see in this wild card round. I think all these matchups are very good, especially tonight. We're going to get into them. But the Yankees-Red Sox series particularly, I'm probably a little biased since they're both out of my division, two division rivals. I'm very interested to see how that goes. And I'm very interested to see how the division round's going to go with the winner of that series going on to face the Blue Jays, who, again, are within our division. So 3 American League East divisions in the playoffs this year. So we'll see how it all pans out. But getting into the actual individual matchups here, before we do that, though, I do want to just show the postseason bracket. Here it is. Obviously, the wild card round, the first round now, and the top 2 seeds in each league receive an automatic bye to the divisional round. So in that case, this year, the Blue Jays advanced to the divisional round after tying with the Yankees atop the American League East, but the Blue Jays own the tiebreaker. So the Blue Jays advance to the divisional round. Yankees are stuck in the wild card series, which is another thing that Yankee fans are very upset about. The fact that, all it would have taken was one more win for the Yankees or one loss of the Blue Jays, and they would be getting the bye to the divisional round instead of having to play the Red Sox, which is going to be a tough series for them in the wild card series. So, with all that being said, over on the National League side, your 2 byes are the Philadelphia Phillies, who won the National League East by a lot, and your Milwaukee Brewers who won the National League Central. Of course, the Blue Jays won the American League East. The Seattle Mariners also received a bye to the divisional round. They won the American League West. So, the winners of these wild card series will face their respective division opponents. So the winners of Detroit and Cleveland will meet the Mariners in a 5-game series in the divisional series. And, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the winner of the Red Sox-Yankees series goes on to face the Blue Jays. Over on the National League side, your Los Angeles Dodgers going to play the Cincinnati Reds, who somehow snuck their way into a playoff spot. And I genuinely feel a little bit bad for Mets fans because, they were on the highest of highs early in the season. I mean, they had the best record in baseball at one point. They were 20 games over 500, and they went on to have what I thought on paper looked like a pretty good trade deadline. They acquired some really good relief pitchers. They acquired Ryan Helsley, the Cardinals closer, I believe Taylor Rogers, and, of course, Gregory Soto from the Orioles. And all 3 of those guys just did not do their job. I mean, the problem primarily with the Mets fell with the starting rotation. You couldn't get starters that could get out of the 5th inning, so you had the bullpen just taxed night after night, having to get 4 innings, having to get 4 innings worth of outs or more. So you can't win ball games if your starters can't go 5 innings or more. So an unfortunate downfall for the Mets there, and they're definitely going to be regrouping in this offseason. It feels like that they're going to have to completely restructure their entire pitching staff, which is pretty rough. I mean, they have their young rookies, that are stepping up, that, your Jonah Tongs, your Brandon Sproats, your whoever else that are stepping up and kind of stepping into the spot that, their veteran pitchers should have been filling, like your Sean Manaeas, like your Kodai Sengas, and whoever else, your Dave Robertsons. So just a really unfortunate situation for the Mets there, and unfortunately for the Mets, the Reds just kind of edged them out, and they are now in the divisional series. They have a very tough opponent ahead of them in the Los Angeles Dodgers, however, so we'll see how far the Reds can go. And the winners of the San Diego Padres-Chicago Cubs series will face the Brewers in the divisional. And, that was something, that, and of course they lost a couple of pitchers due to the gambling incidents. They lost their closer, Emmanuel Clase, and we don't know if he's ever going to return. They lost Luis Ortiz. it was not looking good for the Cleveland Guardians, but they made a miraculous comeback, and it was just an incredible showing from them in the second half of the year. So a couple surprises like that. Yankees, Blue Jays, I don't think there was any surprise there. The Cubs, not quite sure how far they're going to go with some of their injuries. Of course, Cade Horton is out at the moment. Not sure when he will be back. Won't be back for the wild card series. So if the Chicago Cubs make it past there, they're hopeful that they can get Horton back at some point later on. But I think it's a very interesting postseason picture here. And I'm really excited to see what exactly is going to happen here. So, moving on real quickly just to today's specific matchups, today's games. The 4 wild card games, there are the times and the schedules. 1:08 p.m. Eastern, Tigers and Guardians. 3:08 p.m. Eastern, Padres at Cubs. 6:08 p.m. Eastern, Red Sox at Yankees. And 9:08 p.m. Reds at Dodgers. When it comes to where these games are airing, I know 3 of them are going to be on ESPN. I assume that the 3:08 p.m. game is going to be the one on ABC. Let me confirm that really quickly. Let me find... Okay. So the 1:08 game, the Tigers at Guardians, is on ESPN. Padres at Cubs at 3:08 is on ABC, as I imagined it would be. Red Sox at Yankees, 6:08 on ESPN. Reds at Dodgers, 9:08 p.m. on ESPN. So that's going to be the schedule. That's the schedule for today, tomorrow, and Thursday. So 1:08 Tigers Guardians on ESPN. 3:08 Padres and Cubs on ABC. Red Sox and Yankees at 6:08 p.m. ESPN. Reds at Dodgers, 9:08 p.m. on ESPN. So those are your scheduled times for these games. So getting into the specific matchups here, especially for tonight. Obviously, we don't know postseason rosters for any of these teams that we don't know lineups or anything. Those will not come out until a little bit later today. But we do know who's going to be starting each game today. We do know the probable pitchers. So we'll start with the Guardians, Tigers and Guardians. So the Tigers will send up their ace, Tariq Skubal, who is in the front runner to win the American League Cy Young Award this year. So tough matchup for the Guardians straight away. However, the Guardians are going to be sending up Gavin Williams. And while, maybe to outside baseball fans, maybe the name Gavin Williams isn't all that familiar to you, maybe it doesn't stand out like the name Tariq Skubal. But that being said, Gavin Williams this year, he has played the Tigers 3 times this year, and he has a 2-0 record in those 3 games. So he has pitched very well against the Tigers this year. One of these matchups, one of the games where Gavin Williams' pitch was actually against Tariq Skubal. In that game, neither pitcher got the decision. So both pitchers pitched very well. And it ultimately came down to a bullpen situation. So that game was on July 6th. In that game, Gavin Williams goes 6 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. So a very quality outing from Gavin Williams against the Tigers, only allowing 1 hit, no runs. Tariq Skubal on July 6th went 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, 10 strikeouts. So it was a pitching duel. That was on July 6th. So I feel like the week could be in store for another one of those pitching duels here today between Skubal and Williams. So very interested to see what goes on there. If I had to predict, I think I would go. I think I would predict that this is going to be a pitching duel. I think that this is going to be a tit for tat kind of thing. Skubal is, one of the best in the game. Williams is, I think he's an underrated pitcher. I really do. I think that he's someone that is kind of under the radar. Obviously, he's gotten his flowers from Cleveland fans and maybe some other fans within the division, but I think this is a very underrated matchup today, and I think that this is one that I think people should be keeping an eye on because I think it's a very interesting one. Beyond that, Tariq Skubal. Well, I'll just finish up with Gavin Williams. Like I said, he made 3 starts against the Tigers with a 2-0 record. That was the one game that there was no decision. I mean, he didn't lose. I mean, he went 6 innings of shutout. 6 innings shutout against the Tigers. So he has pitched very well. In the other 2 games that he pitched, he got the win in. Obviously, wasn't facing Tariq Skubal in those 2 games, but still important to note, I feel like. So the other 2 games actually came just within the last couple of weeks. His second start against the Tigers this year came on September 17th. He went 5 innings, 3 hits, no runs, shut him out again. 2 walks, 9 strikeouts, earned the win. And then he pitched against them the following week on September 23rd. And it's always tough when a pitcher, when they have 2 consecutive starts against the same team. That's always tough because, the pitcher may pitch well in game 1, but then, that team that he pitched against is learning about him, learning how to adjust to his mechanics, his pitches. So it makes the second start significantly more difficult. And the second start was a little bit worse for Williams, but it was still a quality outing. He went 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs on a home run, 2 walks, and 12 strikeouts. So he struck out 3 more in the second start than he did the first start. So that tells me that Gavin Williams is also good at adjusting to the team. It's not just the team. Obviously, the team adjusted well to Williams, earning or scoring some runs for the first time this year against him. But perhaps Williams also adjusted against the team by amping up maybe his whiff ability, his strikeout ability. So the home run off Williams in that game came from Riley Green, who's expected to be a pretty much everyday starter for the Tigers. So we'll see what can happen there. That was just last week, a week ago today. So we'll see. So Gavin Williams is going to be facing the Tigers for the 3rd time in the last 2 weeks, and the same is going to be true for Tariq Skubal. Surprisingly, Skubal isn't all that hot against the Guardians this year, which I think is interesting. I think when people see that Tariq Skubal's kind of penciled in to start, they just automatically assume that means the Tigers win. But that's not necessarily the case. Tariq Skubal this year has made 4 starts against the Guardians, and he has a 1-1 record in those 4 games. So 2 games, no decision, a win, and a loss. So he has pitched 1 extra time against the Guardians. So every time that the Guardians fought the Tigers, Skubal was on the mound at some point in that series. So the first start came on May 25th, and this was a pretty memorable start. This was a complete game shutout from Tariq Skubal. 9 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 13 strikeouts, and he obviously earned the win in that game. So that was a dominant start to the year for Tariq Skubal. We mentioned the July 6th outing where he went 7 innings shutout, matching Gavin Williams' 5 or 6 innings shutout. However, his last 2 times out over the last couple of weeks have not been as hot. On September 18th, this was still a very good start. These starts were still very good by Major League standards, but a little down for Tariq Skubal standards, perhaps. September 18th, 6 innings, 7 hits. A lot of hits against Skubal, but he only got the 1 run. And that 1 run was on a solo shot from John Kenzie Noel. Skubal walked 2, struck out 9. Now, obviously, still a very, very impressive outing to go 6 innings, giving up 7 hits and only allowing 1 run on a solo shot. That Skubal knows how to lock in when there's trouble, whenever there are men in scoring position, and these numbers prove it. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Guardians can kind of get something going against Skubal, and we'll just see what exactly the Guardians are going to be able to do against Skubal. So his last start came a week ago today. Oh, that was actually another. I had completely missed that Skubal and Williams had faced each other just last week. Had it written down here, but just kind of missed over that. So The last start a week ago today was actually Skubal against Williams. So we're going to be getting that same matchup today. In this instance, Gavin Williams got the win. As I mentioned a little bit ago, he pitched 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, home run from Riley Green, 2 walks, 12 strikeouts. It was a very dominant outing for Williams. Wasn't that dominant for Tarik Skubal. Skubal went 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, only 1 earned run, however. There was an error in there. 3 walks and 8 strikeouts. So not the sharpest outing from Skubal, but he still went 6 innings and only allowed 1 earned run. So, moral of the story is I think this is going to be a very intriguing pitching matchup. I think that this is going to be a very I think this is going to be a pitching duel. I do. I think that these teams are very familiar with each other. They know their weaknesses. They know their strengths. And the fact that, these teams have just pitched against each other, these pitchers have pitched against the opposing team twice in the last 2 weeks, I think this is going to be very interesting. I think even if both pitchers struggle, or if there are struggles from the starting pitcher, I think that it might be the same on both ends. Because both these, the Guardians are so familiar with Skubal. Yeah, he's an excellent pitcher, yes, but they have seen him 4 times this year. And with each outing, it seems like that they have just gotten better against Skubal. So, this will be the 5th time that the Guardians face Skubal this year. And his last time out, he gave up 3 runs. Time before that, 1 run. 2 times before that, no runs. So it's clear that the Guardians are adjusting and they're learning and they're getting better against Skubal. And meanwhile, for the Tigers, I don't know. Williams has just been dominant against the Tigers this year. So I think this is a very underrated pitching matchup today. I think a lot of people are going to be looking at the Crochet-Fried matchup as maybe the most intriguing. It probably still is. But I think this one is very much up there and very much deserves to be in the conversation when it comes to most interesting pitching matchups today. So that's the pitching matchup for today. Overall, Tarik Skubal against the Guardians this year, 28 innings pitched, 16 hits, 4 runs, only 2 earned, 5 walks, and 40 strikeouts. So that is 40 strikeouts in 28 innings pitched. It's a very, very impressive line for Tarik Skubal against the Guardians this year. But I think it's worth noting that the Guardians have been doing better against Skubal as of late. So they did better in his last 2 starts, against him in the last 2 starts that Skubal had against him than in the first 2. So I think it's interesting to kind of maybe speculate or maybe assume. I don't want to assume, but I feel like that it's not too out of left field to predict that maybe the Guardians could maybe beat up Skubal a little bit today. But we'll see. And then Gavin Williams, his total line against the Tigers this year, 17 innings pitched, 8 hits, 2 runs, 7 walks, 29 strikeouts. So both these guys, I think this is going to be a strikeout-heavy game. Both these guys have had those high strikeout numbers each time out against the opposing team. Hits have come not in bunches. The most amount of hits that Williams allowed was 4, and that was in 6 innings. The most amount of hits Skubal allowed was 7, and that was in 6 innings. So we'll see. I think, personally, this is going to be a pitching duel. I think we're going to see tit-for-tat Skubal and Williams, and I think this is a very underrated pitching matchup for today. So the second American League Wild Card Series today is the one that I'm personally most excited for, and that, of course, is the Red Sox against the Yankees, and the pitching matchups, you couldn't ask for a better one, I don't think. Garrett Crochet for the Red Sox against Max Fried of the New York Yankees. So this year, we'll start with Max Fried. He has pitched 3 games against the Red Sox, so in 3 of the 4 series that these two teams have played, Fried has faced them 3 out of the 4 series. His record in those 3 games is 1-1. So 1 win, 1 loss, 1 no decision. His first outing came on June 15th. 7 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs on a home run from Rafael Devers, which I just have a feeling that will not play a factor at all tonight. I don't think that will have I don't think that number specifically, I don't think Rafael Devers' numbers against Max Fried in his career will have any sort of impact on tonight's game. Maybe a bold prediction on my part, but just what I'm feeling. 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. He earned the loss in that game. When you're going 7 innings, 2 runs, and you get the loss, it's a pretty tough day offensively for the Yankees and a pretty good day for the Red Sox pitching staff, which seems like that's been the case all year with the Red Sox, a good day from their pitching staff. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens tonight, but I don't know. I'm kind of edging towards a certain way, and we're going to break this down a little bit further. August 22nd, Max Fried made his second start against the Red Sox of the year. 6 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 7 strikeouts. So this was 6 innings, shutout. So it was a very impressive outing for Max Fried. This was the no decision. So another great day from the Boston Red Sox pitching staff. I do believe that they went on to win the game in extras, this game in extras. So it just goes to show you how good the Red Sox pitching staff has been this year, where the opposing pitcher can go 6 innings shutout and earn a no decision. So the final outing was just a couple of weeks ago, September 13th. This was the worst outing of the year for Max Fried against the Red Sox. It was a 5 1/3 innings, 9 hits, 2 runs on a home run from Alex Bregman. Now, I do have a feeling that he could potentially come into play tonight. I think I feel pretty good about that. 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Surprisingly, I mean, this is just the way baseball is. This was the one win for Max Fried. He went 5 1/3 innings and allowed 2 runs. This was the win. So, not too good of a day from the Boston Red Sox pitching staff and a good day from the Yankee offense, which is what it's all going to come down to. It's going to come down to, can the Yankee offense get hot, which as of late it has been. Over the last maybe couple of weeks, Yankee offense has looked kind of what it is expected to be. And the pitching staff has looked good as well. So I think that's going to be the biggest what if for the Yankees in this postseason is, can the offense get going? Can Aaron Judge get going? We know all about his postseason struggles. Last year, he struggled a lot in the postseason. And I think that the Yankees' success is going to really fall a lot on whether or not Aaron Judge can get going or not. Now, you also have Giancarlo Stanton, who is just a postseason destroyer, and he looks to be rounding into true form right now. He had a great final week of the regular season. So you will have Stanton in there. You will have other big guys in there, like your Jazz Chisholms, like your Trent Grishams, who's been very impressive this year, like your Cody Bellingers, like your Ben Rices. So it's not going to fall just on Judge or Stanton. This is a very full lineup. They have 8 players with 20 home runs or more. This team knows how to hit home runs. But it feels like the success of the Yankees is going to fall on whether or not Aaron Judge can get going or not. And if he can, will the Yankees go all the way? I don't know. But overall, Max Fried against the Red Sox this year, 18 1/3 innings pitched, 19 hits. So the Red Sox have found a way to hit him. 4 runs, 7 walks, 22 strikeouts. So a very interesting matchup there. So Max Fried, who has been the Yankees' ace this year undoubtedly with Garrett Cole out, he has pitched very well against the majority of teams, but it feels like against the Red Sox, perhaps they've gotten a lot of hits against them, but only 4 runs. So Max Fried, kind of like Tariq Skubal, kind of dials in whenever there are guys on, can kind of get himself out of jams, doesn't allow too much damage. I mean, all of these outings from Fried, these 3 outings, 2 runs or less. So I think this is going to be another pitching duel, but I do think Garrett Crochet is going to kind of edge Fried out here. So let's move on to Crochet and his numbers against the Yankees this year, which are just absolutely incredible. 4 games. So he has pitched against the Yankees in every series that they have met this year. The record in those 4 games, 3-0. So out of 4 games, Garrett Crochet has won 3 of them, and the other technical issues here. Again, I do apologize for these technical issues. Anyway, as I was saying, we are, okay, So Crochet, this was the bad outing from Crochet. It was 6 innings, gave up 5 runs, home run to Austin Wells, still struck out 9, and this was one of the games that he earned the win. So he, despite giving up 5 runs in 6 innings, the Red Sox offense was able to match him. The Red Sox offense was able to boost him and give him a lot of breathing room. So when you look at Crochet outings, I wouldn't exactly point to this one as, I wouldn't exactly point to this one to judge, because you got a lot of run support in this game. Ultimately earned the win, so it was a very impressive outing for Crochet, despite the fact that he gave up 5 runs, earned the win. His second outing came the following week, so this was another one of those back-to-back pitching situations, and that can be tough. But seemed like that only fueled Garrett Crochet to lock in. In this outing, he went 8 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. If you remember, this was the game at Fenway where Crochet was dominant. He had gone 8 innings shutout. He came back out for the 9th, gave up the solo home run to Aaron Judge, and then he was pulled. And this was the one game that was a no decision. So the Red Sox offense kind of went cold. I think they did ultimately go on to win this game in extras. But just a dominant outing from Crochet. And the fact that he was able to do this a week after pitching against the Yankees and giving up those 5 runs, that just goes to show you how good Crochet is. So 8 1/3 innings, 1 run on a solo shot from Aaron Judge. That is a very good outing. Next outing came on August 23rd. Pitched 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run on a solo home run from Giancarlo Stanton. 1 walk and 11 strikeouts. He earned the win in this game. So Crochet's he's not unbeatable, right? He's not going to throw 9 innings shutout every time he goes out against the Yankees, right? You have those big power righty bats like Aaron Judge, like Giancarlo Stanton. They're going to go in there. They're going to put a good swing, and they might, Crochet might give up a home run to one of those guys, right? But he is so dialed in elsewhere throughout the lineup where it's not even impactful. From what we've seen this year, at least. Now, of course, the postseason is a completely different demon, so we'll see what exactly happens there, or what happens today. But this year, Crochet has just been absolutely dominant against the New York Yankees. And then his latest start came on September 14th, just a couple of weeks ago. 6 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks, 9 strikeouts. This was his worst outing. Well, not his worst outing, his second to worst outing. His worst outing was the first one, 6 innings, 5 runs. But this was still a quality outing. He gave up 2 home runs, one to Ahmed Rosario, who was a Yankee deadline acquisition, and Aaron Judge again. So Aaron Judge has 2 home runs against Garrett Crochet this year. But Crochet is really, it's been a really great battle between Crochet and Judge this year. I think overall Crochet's had the edge over Judge, but I think Judge, every now and then, he sees a pitch he likes, he puts a good swing on it, knocks it out of the park, and that could very well happen today. But I don't think it's questionable who the better pitcher has been against the opposing team in this particular matchup. Max Fried, overall, like I said, 18 1/3 innings pitched, 19 hits, 4 runs, 7 walks, 22 strikeouts. Crochet, total against the Yankees this year, 27 1/3 innings pitched, 20 hits, 10 runs, 6 walks, 36 strikeouts. More runs given up by Crochet. But the Red Sox, I think it's going to come down to how good the Red Sox offense can be against the Yankees. The Red Sox offense this year has made a habit of really backing up Crochet in his starts. Their offense really shines whenever Crochet is on the mound. And that's going to be a big part of this series and their run in the postseason. I think the Red Sox pitching staff is great. I do. I think it's really, really good. And I think it's a pitching staff that is built to make a deep run in the postseason. But the pitching staff can't do all the work, right? The offense obviously has to step up and do its job. And I think that they will. I think that they have the ability to do that. And if the offense doesn't show up, then I think it's going to be very underwhelming for the Red Sox, and it should be, something that the Red Sox should look at and be a little disgusted with, because all this year their offense was excellent, especially when they had decent pitching. And if they were to get one of those and not the other, that'd be a very disappointing way to end the season. It's exactly how the Orioles ended their 2024 campaign. They had great pitching in the wild card series with Corbin Burnes and Zach Eflin. They couldn't get the offense to go. So we'll see, can the Red Sox get their offense going against Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Cam Schlittler if needed? I think they will. We're going to take a look at the matchup tomorrow between Carlos Rodon and who I believe is going to be Brian Bayo on the mound for the Red Sox. So we're going to take a look at that tomorrow. But for tonight in particular, I feel like I have to give the edge to Garrett Crochet. Now, both of these pitchers have pitched very well against the opposing team. So I think this will be another pitching duel. I do think that this is going to be another tit-for-tat type situation like I think we're going to see between Skubal and Williams. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I think I want to give the edge to Crochet here because I think he has just been so much more dominant overall, not just against the Yankees, but against Major League Baseball and the opposing teams as a whole. I mean, him and Skubal are your top two contenders for the Cy Young Award. So, and he has pitched very well against the Yankees. Not as well as maybe some people think. The Yankees have been able to kind of beat around him a little bit. They have been able to hit the long ball against him. So, I mean, we're going to see what happens here. But I want to give the edge to Garrett Crochet. And I know Max Fried has a lot more experience in big positions like this and a lot more high-stakes situations, but it's Garrett Crochet, right? You have to have a lot of hope in Garrett Crochet because of who he is, what he's done, the current positioning in the American League when it comes to starting pitching. I mean, he's one of the best in the game. And I think this is going to be a very, very good matchup. And I'm very excited to see what happens. But I think I'm going to give the edge to Crochet here. In the Guardians-Tigers situation, it's tough. I meant to make a prediction while I was covering that specifically, but I forgot, so we're going to circle back to that now. This is a tough one. I really do. I think Williams is very underrated. I think he's a very underrated pitcher, and judging by his numbers against the Tigers this year, he has been dominant against the Tigers. Skubal, he's also been dominant, but he's also made some mistakes. So it's tough for me to go with one here. I think the Tigers need Skubal. I think the Tigers need to win this game. If they're going to win a game, I think it needs to be this one. And not, disparaging the Tigers pitching staff, but once you get past Skubal, everybody else isn't exactly on par. And that's unfair to say because it's Tariq Skubal, but it just feels like that there's Tariq Skubal and then everybody else is a couple steps below that. Again, no offense to the Tigers pitching staff, but that's just the way it feels, And the Tigers offense, I mean, the Tigers offense just doesn't seem as hot. It just doesn't seem like they're an offense that can go out there and deliver in key moments and against good pitching. So I'm going to go with Skubal. I'm going to go with the Tigers simply because I think that this is a must-win for them. I do. I think this is a must-win situation for the Tigers. So I'm going to go with the Tigers. But I'm not going to be surprised if the Guardians win, but I will be concerned for the Tigers and their postseason hopes if they lose this game. I think this is a must-win for the Tigers. So we'll see what happens, but I'm going to give the edge to Skubal on this one simply because of who he is and the importance of this win to the Tigers. So that's your American League Wild Card Series preview for day one. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the National League Wild Card matchups for today. So we will be taking a look at that in just a moment, and we'll be right back. So, just saw that the Detroit Tigers just posted their wild card roster. Couple of interesting additions here. Kyle Finnegan is on there, so good to see that he is good to go. They do have Sunday's starter, Kaider Montero. He is on the roster, interestingly. So the Tigers are carrying 12 pitchers and 14 position players. Looks like they have Flaherty on the roster. They have Mize. Not quite sure when those two guys are going to be starting or when, but I imagine they both get a start. Might depend on how this game goes. Probably would prefer to start Mize over Flaherty if they lose this game, but we'll see. So far, I believe they are the only team that have posted their wild card. Let me check to see if the Guardians have posted, but I don't think they have. Let's see if they have not. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if that does get posted. In the meantime, we'll go back and take a look at the National League wild card preview for today. Of course, today, the two matchups, we have the Chicago Cubs against the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers against the Cincinnati Reds. So we'll take a look at that. Starting for the Cubs today is Matthew Boyd, the left-hander. Starting for the Padres today is Nick Pivetta. So both of these pitchers have made 2 appearances against the opposing teams. And both of these appearances were in the same game against the same opposing pitcher. So, little interesting situation here. And the record for both of these pitchers against the opposing team this year is 1-1. So, that means Nick Pivetta won a start and Matthew Boyd won a start. So, in many ways, today is kind of looked at as the season rubber match. So I think I think it's interesting, and I have a feeling that this is why that the Cubs kind of went with Boyd. I mean, they didn't really have very many. I mean, they didn't really have many other good options. Imanaga has not been all that sharp this year, so I don't think there was ever any question that it was going to be Boyd starting this game. Tigers have posted their lineup, in fact. Okay. Got Meadows leading off, playing center. Torres batting second, playing second. Carpenter DHing today, batting third. Torkelson playing first, batting cleanup. Riley Green batting fifth, playing left. Wenzel Perez batting sixth, playing right. Dylan Dingler catching today, batting seventh. Zach McKinstry playing third, batting eighth. And Javi Baez batting ninth and playing shortstop. So that's your lineup today for the Tigers. So no time wasted from the Tigers today. They got their wild card roster out. They got their lineup out. They're good to go. They're ready to go. So we'll keep an eye on whether or not the Guardians do anything. We're going to keep an eye on that. But anyway, back to the Pivetta Boyd situation. I just don't think that the Cubs really had any other option other than Boyd. But back to these starts. Both these starts were early in the year, back in April. So the first game came on April 5th. Nick Pivetta started against Matthew Boyd. 3 innings for Pivetta, 6 hits, 3 runs on a home run from Dansby Swanson. 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. This was the game that Pivetta lost. In this game, Matthew Boyd pitched 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, and earned the win. These two pitchers then faced each other 11 days later, and in this game, Nick Pivetta pitched 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, and earned the win. And then Matthew Boyd pitched 5 1/3 innings, gave up 6 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and he earned the loss. So, like I said, today kind of feels like a little bit of a rubber match between the two pitchers. Total, Nick Pavetta's thrown 9 innings against the Cubs. He's given up 10 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks, 10 strikeouts. Matthew Boyd has pitched 11 1/3 innings against the Padres. 11 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. So I don't think this is going to be a pitching matchup, or a pitching duel, rather. I don't think this is – I think this is going to come down to which offense is hotter today. Of course, the Padres have some new additions, like Ryan O'Hearn. I know Ramon Laureano is currently dealing with a fractured finger. I know that there's concern that he's not going to be able to be back at all throughout the postseason, which would be very unfortunate for the Padres. I know that he is a big part of their offense and even their defense. I mean, Laureano is just a huge part to any team that he's playing for. And got to be honest with you, I'm a little jealous that he is no longer an Oriole. I'm a little upset by it because I'm not going to get into that. But Ramon Laureano, moral of the story, he's a great ball player, and whatever team he's playing for is lucky to have him. And the fact that he's not going to be available potentially for this entire run it's very unfortunate for the Padres. And so we'll see what happens today. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be a pitching duel. I think this is going to be an offense-heavy game, at least whenever these two pitchers are in. Now, the Padres bullpen, one of the best in baseball, against the Cubs bullpens, who is probably not all that great. I mean, it's okay, but it has some holes, right? So, if I had to predict, I'm thinking the Cubs or the Padres are going to come out on top today. I just think I think the Padres do come away with this series. I do think that they will advance. I think the Cubs are a fine team, but I think that there are holes. I mean, their starting pitching isn't great. They needed Imanaga to really step up this year, and he hasn't really done that. Boyd has stepped up. They're down Cade Horton, who's a big blow to them, especially in a series like this. Their offense, it's kind of been streaky. It's been, Kyle Tucker has seen some lulls. Pete Crow Armstrong has seen some lulls this year. It's just been a tough offense. It's been a tough team. And they were once in the conversation of winning the Central, but the Brewers really just walked away with it, and the Cubs didn't really put up much of a fight. So, I think the Cubs belong in the postseason. I think they have a spot here, but I'm just not sure, given the current lineup, the current matchup. Are they better than the Padres? I don't think they are. I don't. I think the Padres. I think their starting rotation is a little worrisome. I think it's not great, but their bullpen is excellent. Their offense can be excellent. It struggles at times, but you got the names in there. I mean, you got O'Hearn, you got Machado, you got Tatis. You got these names that are offensive machines that should be able to go out there and win you a game. Will they? Remains to be seen. But I think the Padres are a better overall team. I think their rotation is their weak point. But I think their bullpen, at least in this series, should be able to carry a lot of the load in the event that the starting pitching can't come through for them. But if the starting pitching can't come through, then it's up to the offense to boost them and carry them up, and we'll see if that happens. I don't know if it will. We'll see. So I'm going to give the edge to the Padres tonight. I'm going to give the edge to the Padres in this series. I'm not going to say that they're going to sweep, but it's going to take some convincing on my part to believe that the Cubs can come away and win a big playoff game like this, given their current pitching staff, given their current offensive woes. They need Tucker. They need Tucker to deliver. They need They need Suzuki. They need whoever, right? They need the offense to come through, and we'll see if it can. I hope that it's going to be an interesting game. I think, like I said, I think today specifically is going to be a pretty big offensive day. I think it's going to come down to the offense, whereas maybe with the other two series that over on the American League side, maybe it's going to come down to the pitching. Who's going to pitch better? But here, I think it's going to come down to who's going to hit better, right? So we'll see. I'm going to give the edge to the Padres just because Pavetta's been brilliant this year, and Boyd he's been good. He hasn't been in. Pavetta's not exactly their ace. At least he wasn't positioned to be. But I feel like right now he's kind of in that. He's kind of been forced into that spot. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So, I'm gonna go with the Padres just because I think that they are the better team. But we'll see if this goes to a Game 3, and if so, then the Cubs really worked hard to get a win here in this series. I think they are going to have to work hard. I think the pitching is going to have to step up. I think the offense is going to have to step up if they want to beat the Padres and they want to move on. So if they can do that, great. But right now, remains to be seen if they have that ability. So we'll see. We'll find out, and we'll see what happens. Going to the final wild card series, we have, of course, the Cincinnati Reds and the Los Angeles Dodgers. I feel like everyone's kind of in unison as to where this series is going to go. I feel like everybody's kind of, maybe not siding with, but expecting the Dodgers to kind of come away with this, which I think is fair. I do think that this is going to be, I don't want to say an easy series for the Dodgers, but the Reds, I'm gonna say bluntly, the Reds are in the playoffs because the Mets just blew it. It comes down to that. The Reds played great the last month. I'm not gonna say that they don't earn that they haven't earned this spot. They of course earned it. They of course worked hard for it. They didn't just get here because the Mets collapsed. That was a big part of it because the Mets were pretty high up. They were the best team in baseball at one point, and we saw how it ended. And just like with the Cubs, but it's going to take even more convincing in this case to convince me that the Reds can make a run. There was a stat that came out yesterday that the Reds were the first team to never. Let me pull this up. I do want to pull up the stat and I want to read it off because it was very specific and I don't want to miss anything. Going to take me a moment to find it. So give me a moment here. Okay, here it is. The Reds are the first team in Major League Baseball history, to have no qualifying batter hit 270, no batter hit 25 homers, no pitcher win 15 games, no pitcher notch 200 strikeouts. The first team to do that in a non-shortened season and still make the playoffs. So, that begs the question, what is their strong suit? What about the Reds is intimidating? What about the Reds is... What aspect of the Reds makes anyone think, that they have what it takes to beat the reigning World Series champions, the Dodgers, go on to face the Brewers, who are the best team in baseball, go on to face either the Phillies or the Padres or the winner of the... Okay. Let me backtrack a little bit. Who thinks that this Reds team has what it takes to beat your reigning series champions, the Dodgers, take 2 or 3, go on to face the Phillies, who have been one of the best teams in baseball the last 5 years, and then go on to face either the Brewers, who are the best team in baseball, the Padres, or the Cubs? I don't know. What is their strong suit? Their offense isn't great. Their pitching isn't great. What is it? I don't want to say that the Reds just kind of limped into this thing, but the Reds kind of just limped into this thing, right? No offense to the Reds. I got no problem with the Reds. They got Austin Hayes. I like Austin Hayes, former Oriole. Great Oriole. I wish success for Austin Hayes. I wish success for the Reds. I got no problem with the Reds. But what aspect of their team makes you think, and should make me think, that they have what it takes to make a run? What do they have? I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. They're going to send their ace to the mound tonight, Hunter Green. And here is what Hunter Green has done against the Dodgers this year. He's made one start, and he lost. He lost this game. He has an 0-1 record this year. He went 5 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, 3 earned, on 2 home runs, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. You look at that outing from Hunter Green against one of the best defense or one of the best offenses in baseball, and I mean, it's not good. You know, anytime you're giving up 5 runs, even if they aren't all earned in 5 innings, this is not going to earn a win against the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's not. So this is their ace. This is their best starting pitcher. This is their guy, Hunter Green. And he hasn't had the best year. He hasn't. I mean, he has not had the best year. But he's still being put in this high position. And it's hard to convince me that he's going to deliver. No offense to Hunter Green. I mean, he's a great pitcher. I mean, he is. He's their ace for a reason. But there's nothing in my mind, there's nothing that I see numbers-wise that can convince me that Hunter Green is going to beat the Dodgers tonight. The 2 home runs against Green came from Andy Pages. So it was a 2 home run game for Pages against Green. Now, the Dodgers, they know how to hit home runs, but they also know how to play a lot of good small ball. They know how to get guys on base, and they know how to bring them in. And in this game, that seemed to be a problem for Green. Now, 6 hits in 5 innings. It's not. It's not good, but it's not terrible, right? 8 total base runners in 5 innings, on 6 hits and 2 walks, 5 runs. I understand that there's an error in there, so it was only 3 earned runs. But Green has had a problem with the long ball, and the Dodgers know how to hit the long ball, and it's a very tough offense. I mean, you look up and down, and it's just power hitter after. I mean, you're leading off with Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, Hernandez. I know Teoscar Hernandez has had a down year, but you got Andy Pages. I mean, Will Smith, he's not going to be on the roster. And they have good bench pieces as well, you know. So, I don't know. I mean, someone convinced me that the Cincinnati Reds can be competitive against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Someone convinced me. Because I need convincing in this particular situation. More than I need convincing of any other thing in Major League Baseball right now, I need convincing that the Cincinnati Reds can be competitive against the Los Angeles Dodgers. I am in desperate need of convincing in this case. So, we'll see what happens. The Dodgers are going to send up Blake Snell against the Reds today. He has not made a start against the Reds this year. He, of course, spent a lot of time out with injury this year. However, notable is what he did last year against the Reds whenever he was with the Giants. And that was on August 2nd, 2024. Blake Snell pitched a no-hitter against the Cincinnati Reds. And I have a feeling that this stat is why Dave Roberts has chosen Blake Snell to start Game 1. He wants a win, Game 1. He wants the first win because the first win in a wild card series is so important because it means that the other team has to win 2 straight, and that's very tough to do, especially in the playoffs against playoff contending pitching, against playoff contending offense. So the Dodgers want Game 1. And on paper, I have no reason to doubt that they're going to win Game 1. So I feel like this is going to be an easy series for the Dodgers. I'm open to be convinced. I'm open to change my mind if someone can give me a compelling argument as to why I should not think this way. But on paper, I'm just not sure the Reds have what it takes to beat any of the teams currently in the National League, on the National League side in the playoffs. So I don't know what to tell you. I've told you what I think. I think the Dodgers are. You might as well just pencil them in to face the Phillies in the division series. That's my opinion. That's the way I'm thinking. If anyone thinks otherwise, please let me know how and why. Give me your reasoning. Give me a compelling argument because I'd love to hear it. But that's the current situation there. So there's your preview for day 1 of the Wild Card Series. I do want to apologize for the technical issues that appeared in this stream. I know it was kind of in and out in spots, and I'm not quite sure why. Like I said at the start, this is the very first episode, so bear with me. Bear with me right now for the first week, month, however long, as I try to figure this out, quite frankly. I've wanted to be a voice in the baseball community for a while. I love the sport of baseball. I think it is America's greatest pastime. So this has been in the works for a while, and I think I have the equipment needed. I mean, I'm live, right? I got a camera, I got a micro, I have lights. Just the little kinks I feel like still need to be worked out. So I'm going to try to work with it. I'm going to try to improve. I feel like with each stream and each day, I can only get better. I can only improve. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what happens today on the first day of the postseason, and what happens today in the first day of the Wild Card Series. So to recap, we got Tariq Skubal and Gavin Williams today. Guardians against the Tigers. That is at 1:08 on ESPN. At 3:08 p.m., we have Nick Pivetta of the Padres. Did I say Tariq Skubal of the Tigers against Williams of the Guardians? At 3:08, we got Nick Pivetta of the Padres up against Matthew Boyd of the Cubs. That is on ABC. 6:08 p.m., we have Crochet of the Red Sox against the Yankees and Max Fried. That is on ESPN. And tonight, 9:08 p.m., Hunter Green of the Reds against Blake Snell of the Dodgers. So that is day 1 of your Wild Card Series for both the American League and the National League. My prediction, I'm going with the Tigers today. I think it's a must-win for the Tigers with Skubal on the mound and their pitching staff. I think today is a must-win situation. If they can win today, then it's very possible that they could piece together another win either tomorrow or on Thursday. But if they lose today, I think it's going to be very difficult for them to come back. So I think today's a must-win for the Tigers. So I'm going to go with the Tigers to win because I think they know that they have to win today. I'm going to go with the Padres against the Cubs today. I just don't see the Cubs really making a run. I don't think that they have the team to do it. I'm open to be proven wrong. And maybe I will be tonight. Maybe they will dominate the Padres, and maybe they will sweep the Padres. And in 2 days, I'm going to come on here and look like a fool because I thought the Cubs didn't stand a chance against the Padres, but we'll see. I'm going to go with the Red Sox over the Yankees tonight with Crochet on the mound, who has just been dominant against the Yankees this year. I think that will continue today. And then I'm going to go with the Dodgers over the Reds. Again, I just don't see the Reds making a run here. And I am open to being convinced otherwise. I'm open to it. I am. I'm open to be talked out of this belief that I don't think the Reds can make a run. But it's going to have to be seen to be believed. So matchups today on the pitching side, some really good stuff going on. The Guardians just got the tweet sent through. They have put out their lineup, so that means they must have put out their wild card roster. So let's take a look at that real quick before we get out of here and see if there's anything interesting. Okay, here it is. Not too sure if I'm not quite sure if any of these are surprises or not. Chase DeLauder. Chase DeLauder's on the wow. He is on the Guardians postseason roster. That is a huge, an outfield prospect, 23 years old. He has made the postseason roster, so that is a huge spot for him. So we'll see what happens here. Should be a very exciting series. The Guardians are going with 12 pitchers and 14 position players like the Tigers. So their lineup for this game, Kwan's going to lead off and play left field. Martinez playing center, batting second. Jose Ramirez batting third, playing third. Rodriguez playing right field, batting cleanup. Manzardo DHing, batting fifth. Arias playing shortstop, batting sixth. Rocchio playing second base, batting seventh. Noel is playing first base and batting eighth. Austin Hedges catching, batting ninth. And, of course, Williams starting, Skubal starting for the Tigers. And that is your matchup for today. So, Guardians, Tigers up first, then Padres, Cubs, then Yankees, Red Sox, and then Reds, Dodgers to round it out for today. So, that's going to conclude today's preview for day one of the Major League Baseball Wild Card Series. We will be back tomorrow at the same time, 9 a.m. Eastern, and we will be live to discuss day two. We're going to be live to discuss what happened today and where exactly these teams stand heading into day two tomorrow and what the matchups look like for tomorrow. So thank you all so much for tuning into this premiere episode of the Full Count Offering, and we will be back tomorrow. I thank you all for joining. Please like the video, subscribe if you are new. I would greatly appreciate it. Turn on the bell so that you get notified every time that we go live here on the Beltway Network. Leave a comment on your thoughts and follow me over on Twitter at Nate Chive. Follow this show over on X at Beltway_network. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. So enjoy baseball today, and we'll be live tomorrow morning to talk about it. So, with all that being said, thank you for tuning in once more, and we'll see you tomorrow.